What if the stories whispered around campfires were more than just legends? What if the tales meant to entertain or frighten were rooted in something much darker, something real? Tonight, we embark on a journey into the unknown. 4 stories, 4 urban legends, each more chilling than the last, and all with one terrifying possibility. They might be true. Stay with me if you dare, as we unravel the terrifying truths behind these spine-chilling tales. But be warned, these aren't just stories to be forgotten when the lights come back on. Some of them might come knocking at your door. First, we'll explore the tale of the vanishing hitchhiker, a figure on a lonely stretch of road, a chance encounter with a stranger that leaves more questions than answers. Is it just a coincidence, or does this specter choose its victims? Then, prepare yourself for the black-eyed children, pale and unsettling figures who appear out of nowhere, knocking on doors and asking to come inside. Harmless children? Or something far more darker? Next, we explore into The Babysitter and the Man Upstairs, a tale that blurs the line between urban legend and chilling reality. What would you do if the danger you feared most was already inside your home? And finally, we confront the internet-born terror of the Slender Man, a faceless entity whose presence has led to unexplainable disappearances, eerie sightings, and even real-life horrors. What happens when fiction becomes deadly? 4 stories, 4 horrors that might not be as far from reality as we'd like to believe. Which of these legends have you heard of? Or better yet, which ones have haunted your nightmares? As we explore into each story, I want to hear from you. Have you encountered anything like this before? Have you heard whispers of these legends where you live? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't go anywhere. By the end of this video, we'll reveal chilling details, some never before shared, that might just change how you look at these urban legends forever. So sit back, dim the lights, and keep your eyes and your mind wide open, because the truth behind these tales might be closer than you think. The Vanishing Hitchhiker. Let me take you back to a time when roads stretched endlessly into the night, unbroken by the convenience of modern cities. Long before GPS guided us safely, long before cell phones provided reassurance, there were stories, whispers, about roads that were anything but ordinary. One such story has traveled across cultures, appearing in countless variations, yet all sharing a spine-chilling theme. The Vanishing Hitchhiker. It begins like this. A lone traveler, usually late at night, spots a figure standing by the side of a desolate road. The figure often appears vulnerable, perhaps a woman in distress, sometimes a young man with an urgent need to get somewhere. They're soaked in rain, or maybe just standing there, illuminated faintly by the vehicle's headlights. Against better judgment, the driver pulls over and offers a ride. The hitchhiker accepts, often silently, slipping into the back seat or settling into the passenger side. Conversations, if they happen, are minimal and unsettling. And then, as suddenly as they appeared, they're gone, vanished into thin air. No sound, no explanation, leaving behind only the eerie emptiness of the car. This tale has been told and retold over decades. Its roots can be traced to folklore from multiple cultures. In some versions, the hitchhiker is a woman dressed in white, her wedding gown perhaps, or some other ghostly attire. In others, the figure warns the driver of impending danger before disappearing, leaving behind an unshakable sense of dread. But these are just stories, right? Or are they? Let me tell you about an account that dates back to the early 1930s in Chicago, Illinois. A story that gave birth to the legend of Resurrection Mary. This particular hitchhiker tale involves a young woman reportedly seen near Resurrection Cemetery. Drivers claim to have picked her up along Archer Avenue, a stretch of road that's desolate even to this day. Mary, as they call her, is often described as wearing a pale dress, sometimes white, sometimes a faded yellow, with long flowing hair. She doesn't say much. She simply asks to be dropped off near the gates of the cemetery. The chilling part? She vanishes just as the car reaches its destination. One man who gave her a ride in the mid-1950s shared his story in detail. He picked her up late one evening and was struck by how cold the air became the moment she entered his car. Mary barely spoke, only pointing silently toward the cemetery as they approached. When he turned to ask if she was sure, she was gone. The passenger seat was empty, yet the air carried an unmistakable chill. And this isn't just one man's story. Over the years, dozens of drivers have reported seeing Mary, some swearing she left behind traces, a faint outline on the car's window. The most unsettling account I've heard comes from a truck driver in rural Texas. But the vanishing hitchhiker driving late at night isn't along an empty stretch of highway when he spotted a woman standing by the road. There's a similar story. She was dressed simply, her face shadowed by the dim glow of his highway. He stopped, witnesses described her a ride, and she climbed into the passenger seat without a word, only to disappear. The two drove in silence for several miles South Africa, until the driver glanced over to ask where she was headed. She wasn't there. Forever searching for a ride sent chills down his spine. A note scrawled in an uneven, hurried script on the dashboard. It simply read, "Thank you." How do we explain such tales? Some argue that the vanishing hitchhiker is a shared psychological phenomenon, a projection of guilt, fear, or longing. After all, what better setting for the mind to conjure ghosts than the isolation of a dark, empty road? Others suggest these sightings are tied to residual hauntings, moments from the past. Skeptics might dismiss these stories as urban myths, no regard exaggerated with each retelling. But what about the evidence? Blurry photos, footprints in the dew, or even audio recordings that defy logical explanation. These artifacts keep the legend alive. So, what do you think? Have you ever experienced something similar? Perhaps a fleeting shadow, a strange figure on the roadside, or a passenger who seemed a little too quiet? If you have, let me know. And if you haven't, well, the next time you find yourself driving alone at night, keep your eyes on the road. But don't forget to check the back seat. The black-eyed children. They always appear in the quiet hours about one such story. When the world feels still. In 2006, a man named at first glance they assumed wasn't telling up his window. Perhaps boys didn't leave at night. The older one's voice grew more insistent in their eyes. The office. Let us in. We can't come in unless you let us. For the occasional shaking to Brian started his car. That's what sped away. Two boys standing behind an unshakable sense of dread. He thought they were there as the black-eyed children. Stories about Brian circulating all around the 80s, but some claim one of the most chilling accounts they come close. These children are said to knock an inexplicable wave on car window. She was home even approaching her softly knock at the door. They hadn't done anything. Looking through the peephole, she saw two children. A boy and a girl started freezing cold. His voice was steady, cold, each more terrifying, innocuous, dressed in simple. Some voices are kind to ride on their shield to rest, crying their expression, their eyes just as kind of stories here. The light is heavy in his car, flashlights on his natural human others babies their manifestation of their eyes and uncomfortable ringers of strangers that describe the unchilling past as the most unsettling cherry instinct. The black-eyed children she dismisses some people overcome by the curiosity and pity. A heightened started again. More obvious to another dimension, and then the realization strikes more calls coming from inside the house. This is the essence of urban legend across all accounts, and the man upstairs enter without permission. Terrified, what happens if you lock every door and most stories electrify a tale of terror? As if those when she finally picked up the courage to check hours later share their experience. So, but the faint sound of this question echoed in her ears. What would you do? The origins of this legend after mid-20th century America. If you looked through during a time when suburban life was seen as the epitome of safety and normalcy. Staring back at you, it's believed that the story began as a cautionary black eyes, a warning to young women left alone in unfamiliar homes. Would you let them in? But like many legends, it took on a life of its own. In the most common version, the babysitter is watching over 2 or 3 young children in a large, isolated house. The night begins quietly. She puts the children to bed, settles onto the couch, and perhaps starts watching TV or reading a book. Then, the phone rings. The voice on the other end is unremarkable at first, but there's something unsettling about the way the caller speaks. "Have you checked the children?" they ask. She brushes it off, assuming it's a prank, and hangs up. But the calls continue, each one more urgent, more sinister. The voice grows colder, more menacing. until she can't ignore it anymore. She calls the police, who trace the call and deliver the horrifying news. The calls are coming from inside the house. In some versions, the babysitter escapes just in time. In others, the story ends tragically, with the children or the babysitter herself falling victim to the intruder. What makes this story even more chilling is its basis in real events. One case often cited as inspiration for the legend strikes to take a moment to think about this. For one, have you ever been home? A teenage girl named Jeanette Crispin babysitting a young boy. The vulnerability of isolation, the family's innate drive to protect children, which remains unsolved to this day. What you do bears eerie similarities to the tale of the babysitter and the idea of a threat. There's the case of the infamous children-voiced killer. Would you laugh at all? Michael shatters that illusion. Who would call police after his crime? Praises the story still makes you uneasy. Because the next time you hear the song already anonymous babysitting in the middle of the unsettling nature of a voice find yourself thinking about this legend and resonates deeply. If you do, we might not forget the unsettling transcripts of emergency calls that capture the raw terror of individuals realizing the Slender Man encounter. One such call involves a woman as a simple idea upstairs, a fabrication meant to spook and entertain. The operator stays on the line as footsteps form louder and closer to create eerie, manipulated images that could pass as evidence of the paranormal. These real-life incidents. Among the entries was a figure that would become one of the most infamous entities of the digital age of the baby Slender Man and the man upstairs. Slender Man was born in 2009, an invention of a user on the Something Awful forums. The original images showed a tall, impossibly thin figure lurking in the background of black and white photos. His features, or rather the lack of them, were what made him so unnerving. No eyes, no mouth, no face at all. Just a blank, pale canvas where humanity should have been. He wore a dark suit, his elongated arms stretching unnaturally as if to reach for something or someone just beyond the frame. It was all supposed to be a joke, a digital campfire story for the internet age, but Slender Man refused to stay confined to the realm of fiction. As people began sharing these images and adding their own stories, Slender Man evolved. He was no longer just a figure in the background. He became a predator, a creature of the shadows, haunting forests and abandoned places. He was said to prey on children and teenagers, luring them with promises or threats, drawing them deeper into his domain until they disappeared. The legend took on a life of its own, spreading across forums, YouTube videos, and online communities. Slender Man wasn't just an internet meme anymore. To many, he became real. But what happens when belief turns deadly? In 2014, a small town in Wisconsin became the center of a horrifying incident that blurred the line between legend and reality. Two 12-year-old girls lured their friend into the woods under the guise of a game. What followed was an act so shocking it made headlines worldwide. The two girls stabbed their friend 19 times, leaving her for dead. Miraculously, the victim survived, crawling to a nearby road where she was discovered by a passing cyclist. When the attackers were questioned, their explanation sent chills down investigators' spines. They claimed they were acting on behalf of Slenderman. They believed that by committing the attack, they could prove their loyalty to him and gain his protection. One of the girls even described planning to escape to Slenderman's supposed mansion in the woods, where they would live as his proxies. This case became a horrifying testament to the power of belief. The girls were later diagnosed with mental illnesses, but their actions forced the world to reckon with how an urban legend could drive real-world violence. And then there are the sightings. One account comes from a man hiking in a dense forest in Pennsylvania. He described an overwhelming sense of being watched, though he saw no one around. That was until he took a photo of the trail ahead. In the grainy image, he swore he could see a tall, thin figure standing between the trees, its face a pale blur against the dark woods. Another story tells of a teenager who claimed to see Slender Man outside her bedroom window. She described him as standing perfectly still, his head slightly tilted, as though studying her. By the time she gathered the courage to look again, he was gone. These stories, though anecdotal, add fuel to the fire. People report strange dreams, shadowy figures in their peripheral vision, and an unshakable sense of dread when they hear his name. Is it just the power of suggestion, or is there something darker at work? The Slender Man phenomenon is a prime example of how urban legends can seep into reality. It's not just about the story itself, it's about the collective belief, the shared fear that gives the legend its power. Slender Man doesn't need to exist in the physical world. He exists in the minds of those who believe in him. And sometimes that's enough. Psychologists have studied how belief in such legends can manifest in real and terrifying ways. It's called the tulpa effect, the idea that intense focus and belief can bring something imaginary into reality, at least in the eyes of the believer. Whether it's a trick of the mind or something more, the result is the same. Slender Man feels real to those who believe in him. But why does he resonate so deeply? Perhaps it's his facelessness, his anonymity. He's a blank slate onto which we project our deepest fears, of the unknown, of the unseen, of the dangers lurking in places we can't reach. So now, I ask you, do you believe in Slender Man? Is he a product of our imagination, an urban legend that got out of hand? Or could there be something more to his story? The next time you find yourself walking alone at night, in the woods, or even in your own neighborhood, keep an eye on the shadows. And if you feel the weight of a gaze that isn't there, or catch a flicker of movement just out of sight, ask yourself this: is it just your imagination, or is he watching? And there you have it, 4 of the most chilling urban legends that blur the line between fiction and reality. First, we explored The Vanishing Hitchhiker, a tale of ghostly figures seeking rides on deserted roads, vanishing without a trace, and leaving us to wonder if they're spirits trapped in time or echoes of tragedies past. Next came the unnerving Black-Eyed Children, pale and otherworldly figures whose soulless black eyes pierce into your very being. Are they extraterrestrial visitors, demonic entities, or something beyond our understanding? Then we stepped into the chilling story of The Babysitter and the Man Upstairs, a legend that preys on our fear of isolation and the terrifying thought that danger could already be inside our most sacred spaces. Finally, we delved into the enigmatic and modern horror of Slender Man, a creation of the digital age that crossed into the real world with devastating consequences. Is he a collective hallucination born of fear, or something we've unwittingly summoned into existence? Each of these legends carries an unsettling truth, that the scariest stories aren't always just stories. But before we go, let me leave you with one final thought. What if these aren't just legends? What if they're warnings? Warnings to stay vigilant on lonely roads, to question the intentions of those who seek entry into our homes, and to understand the power of belief, because sometimes belief alone can make the unreal all too real. If you enjoyed uncovering these spine-chilling tales, don't forget to like this video and share it with others who dare to confront the unknown. Have you encountered anything like this yourself? Maybe a shadowy figure in the woods, a phone call that didn't feel right, or a memory you can't quite explain? Share your stories in the comments below, and let us know which urban legends you'd like us to cover next. Make sure to subscribe for more terrifying tales, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a chance to explore the darker corners of the world. Until next time, keep the lights on, stay curious, and remember, sometimes the scariest things are the ones you can't see. What if these legends aren't just stories? What if, in some corner of the world, they're still happening? We may never know for sure. But don't worry, the darkness is far from over. Next time, we'll uncover the terrifying truth behind cursed objects that may bring you bad luck. Could the antiques you collect, or the trinkets passed down through generations, be hiding dark secrets? Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you'll be the first to know when the next spine-chilling tale drops. Until then, stay safe, stay curious, and always keep one eye on the shadows.